while we're talking about the pros and the cons, and this one can go either way, is that because it is extra metal, it adds extra mass into the bowl, which causes two things. One, welcome back, vape cappers. We are here with an update with the HyperDyn. I mentioned this in my video when I did the overview that I would be talking about these little wonderful things right here, the dosing caps. A dosing cap is a small metal container or sometimes glass container, depending on what device you're using, that you can preload your flower inside, and then you take this little capsule and put it inside your device, in this case the HyperDyn, and then you use it like normal. Why would you want to use this little accessory right here? Well, reason number one, it makes preloading these capsules to take on the go really easy. So you can have 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different capsules in a little container that you take with you on the go, so you don't have to take a separate flower container, and instead of having to worry about where to empty the ABV or having a separate stash jar and filling and all that, you can just pop one of these caps in, take your hit, and then when you're ready for your next hit, you just dump the cap out, put a new cap in, and you're ready to go. And then when you get home, you can switch out all of your dosing caps. This is something I was really accustomed to using my devices like the Crafty. The other thing that dosing caps really help with is keeping the device clean. I know that seems weird, and don't ask me the science on it, but for some reason, when you use a dosing cap, it keeps your device a lot cleaner, especially inside the bowl. Now, that makes sense because you're not getting any flour on the inside of the actual tip. So when you eject it and you clean these, it keeps everything inside the oven nice and sparkly, which means that I have to clean my screen a lot less, and that's always a bonus. Downside number one. If you only have one dosing cap, it can be a little fiddly to deal with to reload and load this every time you want to load a chamber. Thing number two is it does add some level of restriction into the bowl. So if you already have a restrictive device, this can exacerbate the issue just a little bit. While we're talking about the pros and the cons, and this one can go either way, is that because it is extra metal, it adds extra mass into the bowl, which causes two things. One, a longer heat up time, and two, it stays hotter for longer. So this means you might have to adjust your heating to match the extra mass of the bowl. And depending on your preference, a little bit hotter or hotter for longer can be a win or something that you're not too happy about. For me personally, I love this, and I think that the HyperDyn with the dosing cap takes it a step further of the HyperDyn being a good, bigger option for Dynavaps. So as we crack open the dosing caps, you see it's only 2 machined parts, a lid and a bucket. I haven't weighed out a dosing cap yet, but let's go ahead and fill both and then empty them so we can get a good feeling for the difference in volume. To load my dosing caps, sometimes I use this little terp pearl grabber that I have to just cram it into the flower and get it all loaded up. Then I would put the cap on, but since we're gonna open it, we're not gonna go ahead and do that. Then for the tip, I'm just gonna go ahead and load it up. Nice little light pack just to get it away from the cap. And let's go ahead and empty these out. So we know from my HyperDyn video that the bowl on the HyperDyn is absolutely massive, coming in at just under 0.3. Then with the dosing cap, we do lose a considerable amount of volume. It looks like it's just about half the amount of flour. And whether that's a positive or a negative, I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and put this to use to find out. Okay, so now that I've gotten my dosing cap all loaded up, let's go ahead and put it in my device. Throw it in the tip and give it a rip. I have my Firefox on a low to medium flame, and I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a nice slow spin and heat up. It's gonna take a little bit of extra time because of the mass in the dosing cap, and you really want to get this one all heat soaked to get that extra mass going. One click, and here we go. A nice solid 2 rips off of that, and let's go ahead and look inside. So I use my decapper to get the cap off, and then the really cool thing is you can use a magnet to get the dosing cap out, which I thought was a really neat feature to do quick swap and hot reloads. So now that I've got the dosing cap off and out, let's take a look at that ABV. This is thoroughly cooked. And for me, the dosing cap actually gives a little bit of a better cook than just the native HyperDyn. The only thing is it does add quite a bit of restriction. So there's a trade-off there, and you don't get as big of a volume. But with the bigger volume, sometimes I felt like the tip left a little bit behind. Now, with the dosing caps, I feel like the HyperDyn really gets all of the extraction done in the flower that you put into it. Overall, I would say the dosing cap for the HyperDyn is a win. And if you have the HyperDyn and didn't get any of the dosing caps, I suggest checking them out for sure. Well, that's it for the HyperDyn dosing caps. And as always, stay lifted.
Psst, come hang out with us on Discord.